There's a scene in the movie Jurassic World where Vincent D'Onofrio's villainous character plans on getting his hands on designs of some raptors in hopes of using the fearsome creatures as weapons in warfare. It sounds like an utterly preposterous idea in real life, because why would you unleash a ravenous killing machine over which you have very little control on the world when it could just easily kill your own forces? But as silly as it might sound, it's not without historical precedent. Mankind has long thought ways to turn animals into weapons of war, sometimes with much better results than others. Here are 9 ways animals have been used as weapons. Hold on to your hat and prepare to be surprised. Number 9. Bat bombs. No review of animals used as weapons of war would be complete without including the tale of the Pennsylvania dentist who came up with a scheme to burn down Japan with the help of many bats. It was in 1941 when Dr. Little Adams proposed a plan to the US government. After the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, he believed the United States could counterattack by strapping small incendiary devices to bats, which would then be released over Japanese cities to make their way into attics and under the eaves of buildings where they could all be detonated later on. The plan was to release a massive bat population, and then if they were all detonated simultaneously, you would have literally thousands of fires breaking out all across a massive area. The army captured thousands of bats with the use of nets, but the program featured setback after setback. Transporting the bats proved to be problematic. Also, releasing them in mid-air was an issue as well. With things not going as planned, $2 million later, the entire scheme was cancelled. Before we go on, please subscribe to Rite Entertainment for more awesome videos. Number 8. Anti-tank dogs. Dogs in military service are used for tracking enemies or even things like sniffing out landmines, and of course, they can run faster than a human, which makes them ideal for hunting down enemies and subduing them. The Soviets in World War II tried to take things to a whole new level with anti-tank dogs. Soviet forces had begun training dogs to handle tanks as early as the 1930s. The idea was to strap the dogs with explosives and train them to crawl under an enemy tank. Each dog was outfitted with 12 kilograms, about 26 pounds of TNT. The training was brutal for the dogs. They were starved, and then meat was hidden under practice tanks to encourage them to run underneath. Though the strategy had its problems, after some tweaks, the dogs proved successful in some instances, including a battle in July 1942 in which a battalion of these anti-tank dogs took out dozens of tanks. Number 7. War elephants. Believe it or not, war elephants were a real thing and still are a real thing. The famous use of war elephants dates back to Hannibal and his journey across the Alps with a team of war elephants to strike Rome itself. Throughout India in the 4th century and beyond, war elephants were bedecked with armor and weaponry to destroy enemy infantry forces. Steel balls were chained to elephants' trunks, and the animals were trained how to spin them to crush enemies. Some even had large crossbows mounted on their backs that a soldier could fire. Number 6. War dolphins. Even if you don't know a lot about dolphins, you probably know they are exceptionally intelligent and playful. It's that first part that is actually being used against them by some military forces who see it as an opportunity to make combat dolphins. Back in 2016, the Russian government made public that they were actually in the market for 5 combat dolphins that they could buy. The requirements were that the dolphins be physically unblemished and have perfect teeth. They have been using dolphins for military purposes ever since the Cold War. Russia is not the only country that has sought dolphins in wartime. America was also making dolphin soldiers as far back as 1960. The Navy Marine Mammal Training Program has 85 dolphins. You'll be happy to know that the US military doesn't train dolphins to be in harm's way. They find underwater mines, including ones that are buried on the ocean floor. And they can also discover an enemy presence in the water and alert military forces that an attack is imminent. Number 5. Bees. Most people hate bees at the best of times. If you're not allergic, then you're likely afraid of being stung by an angry one. This aversion to bees is by no means a modern thing. Throughout history, people have been cautious to avoid stinging insects. That's why after catapults were invented, someone got the bright idea to launch beehives into enemy camps as a form of warfare. Beehives were catapulted from ships onto the decks of other ships and over walls into cities. Apparently, in the 14th century, there was a windmill-like Gatling gun device that had hives on the arms that would be shot towards the enemy, thoroughly bathing the area in very angry bees. Number 4. Rats. In the movie Wanted, there is an agent of the Guild of Assassins who uses rats as weapons strapped with explosives so they can infiltrate a building and blow up a target. As fanciful as that sounds, it's not entirely far-fetched in terms of real-world uses of rats with explosives. It turns out, back in the day, British secret agents were actually outfitted with exploding rats. There was an incident when a special operatives executive had the guys in the lab create 100 exploding rats by stuffing the bodies of the little creatures with explosives. Obviously, they were dead at the time and were skinned, filled with plastic explosives, and then sewn up again. The plan for the exploding rats was to place them near coal boilers. When they were discovered, a natural reaction of whoever was feeding the boilers would be just to shovel the corpse of the rat in with the coal to get rid of it. And since it was full of explosives, the boiler would then blow up and take out a sizable chunk of whatever building they were in. Number 3. Scorpions. Anyone who lives in the desert climate near scorpions knows just how much of a nuisance these little arachnids can be. Most scorpion stings are painful and can cause issues with irregular breathing and heartbeat. It's possible it could kill you, especially if you have an anaphylactic reaction. In the 2nd century, the Roman Emperor Septimus Severus was attempting to lay siege to Mesopotamia. The emperor and his forces tried to get over the walls of a stronghold, only to be met with earthenware pots hurled at them like bombs from the other side. The pots had been loaded with scorpions, which were extremely prevalent in the area. Roman soldiers were showered with scorpion as the pots broke upon their bodies. This method of defense continued until the Roman emperor finally gave up and retreated. Number 2. War pigs. Believe it or not, war pigs were actually used to counter war elephants. Famous Roman philosophers were one of the first to discover that elephants were oddly afraid of the squeal of pigs. Pigs have been used successfully to disrupt charges of war elephants, which was what happened at the siege of Megara in the year 266. The Megarians retaliated by unleashing war pigs and also coating them in oil before setting them ablaze, and released them on a contingent of war elephants. Burning pigs rushed to the line of war elephants, creating chaos. The elephants bolted in terror from the flaming, squealing pigs, often killing great numbers of their own by trampling them to death. Number 1. Flaming monkeys. The very idea of a flaming monkey coming at you in the field of battle is disturbing on a number of levels. Still, try to imagine this strategy that was apparently employed by the Chinese Imperial Army during the Song Dynasty sometime in the 12th century. The word is that during a battle with the rebels of the Yanzhou province, the army resorted to lighting monkeys on fire and then setting them loose in the rebel camp, where they ran amok, lighting things on fire until presumably they collapse. So not only did the soldiers have the disorienting experience of dealing with flaming combatants, they also probably had to deal with the panic shrieks of flaming monkeys as well. It's about as horrifying a fighting tactic as you can imagine. Boy, talk about animal cruelty. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment. Bye!